Across the frozen deserts of the Ice Age, one creature ruled the tundra. A beast so powerful, it may have inspired the legend of the unicorn. Meet Elasmotherium, a prehistoric rhinoceros, armed with a 2-meter horn, strong enough to shatter ice and dig through frozen earth. In a world where survival meant constant battle, this giant lived on the edge of extinction, fighting the cold and everything that hunted it. But Elasmotherium was never alone. The frozen steppe was crawling with predators, waiting, watching, calculating every weakness. When danger came, escape was not an option. Elasmotherium relied on raw power, charging like a living tank through blinding snowstorms. Its massive horn was more than a weapon. It was a tool, a shield, and sometimes the only thing standing between life and death. Yet even the strongest giants could not escape the brutal reality of the Ice Age, where storms could erase entire herds overnight. Through endless frozen plains, Elasmotherium walked alone, searching for food buried beneath meters of snow. Using its horn like a snowplow, it carved open the tundra, revealing the frozen grass that kept it alive. But something was changing. Storms were growing stronger, and the frozen world was becoming dangerously unstable. Hidden beneath the snow, new predators stalked the tundra, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Elasmotherium could feel the vibrations through the ground. Every step, every movement, every approaching threat. When attacked, this giant did not retreat. It prepared for war, lowering its horn like a prehistoric spear. Clashes between megafauna shook the frozen earth. Battles where only one side could walk away. Victory came at a cost. Every fight drained energy in a world where food was already disappearing. To survive, Elasmotherium crossed deadly frozen rivers, where a single mistake meant instant death beneath the ice. Cracks spread beneath its weight, each step testing the limits of survival. With explosive strength, it lunged forward, outrunning the collapse of the frozen world behind it. For a moment, it stood safe, staring across an endless wilderness, unaware its world was already beginning to end. Because the Ice Age was hiding something far more dangerous than predators. It was hiding extinction. Millions of years before humans walked the earth, Elasmotherium evolved into one of the most specialized grazers ever created. Its wide mouth was built to tear through frozen grass, extracting nutrients from land that looked completely lifeless. Its thick fur acted like natural armor, protecting it from temperatures colder than modern Antarctica. Its call echoed across the tundra, a sound that carried for miles, warning rivals and calling potential mates. Like many megafauna, Elasmotherium followed ancient migration routes carved into the land by generations of giants. Its skull evolved into a reinforced structure, capable of supporting one of the largest horns in mammalian history. That horn wasn't just for combat. It was essential for survival, helping uncover food buried beneath ice and snow. Over time, the horn constantly grew, sharpening itself against rock and frozen terrain. Its massive lungs allowed it to breathe freezing air, while steam clouds revealed every exhale. Every step pressed tons of force into the tundra, reshaping the frozen landscape beneath its feet. Elasmotherium likely raised its young in harsh conditions, teaching calves how to survive storms and predators. Mothers shielded newborns using their enormous bodies, forming living barriers against blizzards. Young calves learned survival quickly, because weakness meant death in the Ice Age. Adult males fought for territory and for mating rights, using their horns in brutal power contests. These battles rarely ended quickly. They were tests of endurance, strength, and dominance. Seasonal migration shaped their entire lives, forcing them to travel thousands of kilometers in search of food. But climate instability began breaking these ancient routes, turning safe migration paths into deadly trap. Fresh water became rare, forcing Elasmotherium to search for melting glacial pools. Volcanic eruptions and climate shifts darkened skies, triggering environmental chaos across the steppe. Ash storms buried grasslands, suffocating entire ecosystems. Through heavy fog, Elasmotherium sometimes appeared like a mythical creature, perhaps inspiring ancient legends. Under the northern lights, its horn reflected glowing colors, creating one of the most mysterious images in prehistoric history. Ice crystals scattered light across its horn, making it shimmer like something out of myth. And somewhere in the distance, early humans may have witnessed this giant from afar. To them, it may have looked like something impossible, something almost supernatural. Scientifically, Elasmotherium dwarfed modern rhinos, with far more specialized anatomy. Its muscles and skeleton evolved to support extreme cold survival and immense physical strength. Among Ice Age herbivores, it stood as one of the largest grazing mammals ever. Its reflection in frozen water revealed an animal unlike anything alive today. Yet even giants could not survive isolation, and the tundra was growing quieter every year. As mammoth herds thundered across the plains, competition for food intensified. These giants often shared territory, but survival forced them into conflict. Melting snow weakened the tundra's foundation, turning stable ground into deadly traps. Warmer seasons arrived faster, transforming snowfields into mud and instability. Vegetation declined, forcing Elasmotherium to travel farther than ever before. Migrating birds began abandoning the tundra, a silent warning of environmental collapse. Carcasses of megafauna began appearing across the steppe, signs of a dying ecosystem. Storms intensified, erasing feeding grounds overnight. Unknown predators echoed across frozen valleys, increasing pressure on every surviving animal. And somewhere beyond the storm, extinction was already approaching. Across the tundra, Elasmotherium shared its world with other giants, including the legendary woolly mammoth, another ruler of the Ice Age. These massive creatures followed the same migration paths, and sometimes survival forced them into dangerous encounters. Every footprint carved into the snow revealed the sheer weight of megafauna, animals large enough to reshape the landscape itself. When migration routes crossed, even peaceful giants could become rivals, competing for the same disappearing resources. Tension built slowly, as two titans circled each other, measuring strength, waiting for the first mistake. When battle erupted, it shook the frozen ground. Horn against tusk, muscle against muscle, a clash of prehistoric power. Elasmotherium used its horn with astonishing precision, deflecting attacks while maintaining balance on slippery ice. Each collision sent shockwaves through the tundra, snow collapsing beneath thousands of kilograms of force. But survival wasn't about winning fights. It was about conserving energy in a world running out of food. Eventually, both giants separated, choosing survival over destruction. Yet herbivores weren't the only threat. Ice Age predators were larger, stronger, and more patient than anything alive today. Cave bears, capable of killing mammoths, sometimes targeted weakened megafauna. Elasmotherium relied on intimidation, using vibrations and raw strength to discourage attacks. Sometimes, escape was the only option, forcing giants into dangerous terrain predators could not follow. Even when predators retreated, the psychological pressure never disappeared. Steppe wolves hunted differently, using teamwork, endurance, and relentless pursuit. They targeted exhaustion, not strength, chasing prey across kilometers of frozen wilderness. Elasmotherium used terrain as a weapon, triggering avalanches and climbing steep ice ridges. Reaching high ground often meant survival, forcing predators to abandon the hunt. But every escape drained precious energy that could not be replaced easily. Then the greatest enemy appeared, not predators, but climate change. Permafrost began melting, turning stable tundra into deadly traps capable of swallowing megafauna whole. Methane gas erupted from thawing ground, poisoning ecosystems and accelerating environmental collapse. Ancient grasslands slowly disappeared, replaced by barren, frozen mud. Food shortages forced Elasmotherium to travel farther, increasing exposure to predators and storms. Blizzards intensified, storms powerful enough to bury entire feeding grounds overnight. Snow dunes rose like frozen mountains, reshaping migration routes within hours. Frozen lakes became deadly traps, their glass-like surfaces hiding lethal fractures beneath snow. Crossing glacial crevices became a life-or-death gamble, requiring perfect timing and strength. Even successful escapes left scars, physical and evolutionary. Then, a new predator entered the Ice Age ecosystem: humans. Unlike natural predators, humans use strategy, planning, and tools. Torches and weapons transformed the tundra into a hunting battlefield. Elasmotherium was powerful, but it could not predict coordinated human attacks. Many hunts failed, but every attempt increased pressure on surviving populations. Megafauna migration routes began disappearing, leaving scattered survivors across isolated tundra zones. Entire mammoth herds vanished, leaving silent plains where thunder once echoed. Isolation reduced breeding populations, accelerating extinction risk. The tundra itself began cracking, signaling environmental systems were collapsing. Storm fronts grew larger, colder, and more unpredictable than ever before. Every storm carried extinction closer, erasing ancient feeding grounds and migration memory. Footprints vanished beneath snowfall, leaving no trace of ancient giants. Survival corridors shrank, forcing Elasmotherium into unfamiliar territories. Its territorial call echoed across empty plains, searching for others that may already be gone. Megafauna populations continued collapsing, one species after another disappearing into history. Rivers froze, then thawed, then vanished, destroying stable water sources. Unstable ground released toxic gases, poisoning fragile ecosystems. Even the aurora-lit skies could not hide the reality. The Ice Age world was dying. Elasmotherium walked across empty horizons, searching for life, finding only silence. And as storms gathered across the tundra, the final chapter of this giant was about to begin. By the final phase of the Ice Age, Elasmotherium was no longer fighting only nature. It was now facing human hunters. Humans studied their prey, tracking movement patterns, learning migration routes, waiting for opportunity. Unlike predators, humans attacked with coordination, surrounding giants that once feared nothing. Elasmotherium could outrun storms, fight predators. But human strategy introduced a new level of danger. Every wound, every failed escape, reduced the already fragile population. At the same time, the Ice Age was ending, and the frozen world began transforming faster than evolution could adapt. Ancient grasslands disappeared, replaced by unstable wetlands and barren tundra. Glacial rivers flooded feeding territories, destroying seasonal migration cycles. Exhaustion became common as Elasmotherium searched endlessly for food across a dying ecosystem. Eventually, the tundra grew silent, and megafauna began disappearing one species at a time. Thousands of years later, scientists discovered fossils revealing the true structure of Elasmotherium. These remains told the story of evolution, adaptation, and ultimately, extinction. The skull revealed the massive base supporting its legendary horn, confirming it was one of the most extraordinary mammals ever discovered. Advanced scanning technology allowed scientists to reconstruct muscles, posture, and behavior. Through digital reconstruction, Elasmotherium walked again, inside the imagination of modern science. Some researchers believe encounters with Elasmotherium inspired early stories of a one-horned beast. Under the glow of northern lights, its massive horn may have appeared almost supernatural. As populations vanished, memories of the creature may have transformed into myth and folklore. Ancient cave paintings show animals with exaggerated horns, possibly humanity's first attempt to record Elasmotherium. Over generations, the legend evolved, becoming the mythical unicorn, symbol of mystery and power. Elasmotherium once lived alongside mammoths, giant deer, and other Ice Age giants. Together, they formed one of the most complex megafauna ecosystems in Earth's history. But environmental collapse erased this entire world, leaving only fossils and unanswered questions. Snow slowly covered the last footprints of Elasmotherium, sealing its fate beneath frozen time. Its final call may have echoed across empty tundra plains, unheard by any living creature. Extinction rarely happens instantly. It happens slowly, quietly, one generation at a time. Eventually, the last Elasmotherium disappeared, leaving no survivors behind. The tundra remained, but the giants that shaped it were gone forever. The Ice Age ended, and Earth moved forward, carrying the memory of lost megafauna into deep history. But extinction does not erase existence. It transforms life into evidence, waiting to be rediscovered. Today, Elasmotherium lives again, through scientific reconstruction and museum preservation. It reminds us of a time when mammals grew to unimaginable size, dominating the frozen world. It also reminds us how fragile even the most powerful species can be. Because survival depends not only on strength, but on adaptation and balance with the environment. The story of Elasmotherium is not just about extinction. It is about change. Fossils allow scientists to reconstruct ecosystems, revealing how climate, predators, and humans shaped extinction. Comparisons with modern rhinoceroses show how evolution continues, even after ancient species vanish. Ice Age extinction patterns help scientists understand modern biodiversity threats. And somewhere between science and legend, the image of a giant horned beast continues to inspire human imagination. Once, across the frozen plains of the Ice Age, Elasmotherium walked as one of Earth's greatest giants. Today, it survives only in fossils, myths, and the eternal question of what other legends were once real.